Hello, my dear viewers. Today we're diving into a gentle story one about love, understanding, and those small, ordinary moments that somehow warm our hearts on the coldest days. After all the storms, Alex and Tuna have finally found a quiet piece of heaven for themselves. A small house on the farm where the sound of birdsong fills each morning. Tuna shares her dream of watching little Henry grow up in peace, while Alex, a man who's weathered more than his share of hardships, simply says, "I'll do everything I can, so the two of you will never have to be afraid again." And so today's story begins on that very morning, a day that seemed ordinary, yet held such deep emotions within it. A place where love was spoken through silence and promises were written through the simplest gestures. Let's step together into a peaceful day on the farm when the storm became still. Night fell, slowly stretching across the quiet countryside. Fireflies flickered by the row of beetle trees, and the soft hum of crickets filled the air like a distant lullaby. Inside a small wooden house tucked against the hillside, a warm yellow light glowed across Tuna and Alex's faces. Outside, the breeze gently moved the curtains, carrying the earthy scent of rain, raw, familiar, comforting. Tuna rested her head on Alex's shoulder. Her voice was small and trembling, as if afraid to disturb the night. "Alex, sometimes I still feel scared. Scared that this peace came too fast and could disappear like a dream." Alex held her closer, his rough hands warm and steady. "I know, but we made it through the storm, Na. Now it's time to live for Henry. And for us." Tuna stayed quiet. Her eyes were slightly red, filled with things she hadn't found the words to say. "You know, some nights I just watch Henry sleep, hoping he'll have a gentle childhood one without his mother's tears or his father's silence." She paused, smiled faintly through the lump in her throat. "So, as long as you're here, I feel strong enough." Alex leaned in and kissed the top of her head. "I promise, no matter how hard things get, I'll never let you face them alone again." Outside, the moon rose higher, its light soft through the window. They sat there, no words, just the quiet warmth between them. That night, even the wind on the porch seemed gentler than usual. By dawn, the sun was still hiding behind the mountains when Tuna woke up. The morning chill made her shiver as she pulled the blanket up over Alex and Henry. They were both sound asleep, their faces so peaceful it made her heart melt. Alex lay on his side, one hand resting protectively over his son, as if by instinct. Tuna got up quietly. A pale beam of light from the window caught her messy hair, making it glow faintly. The little kitchen had long grown familiar, every scent, every small sound tied to a memory. She lit the stove. The blue flame flickered and filled the room with warmth. She made coffee, fried eggs, toasted some bread, and drizzled honey on top for Henry. The soft sizzle of the pan mixed with birdsong outside a simple, peaceful morning symphony. As she bent down to arrange the fruit, a pair of warm arms suddenly wrapped around her waist. She gasped, then laughed. "You're up already. I thought you were still sleeping with Henry." Alex lowered his head and kissed her forehead. "Good morning." The simple words made her chest feel light. Tuna turned toward him, smiling through the soft haze of kitchen steam. "Did you sleep well?" "I did." Alex set his eyes calm and full of quiet joy. I think, as long as you're here, even storms feel like peace. Tuna blushed, a bit of flour still on her fingers. You always say things that make me forget how to respond. Then just keep smiling like that, Alex replied, pulling her a little closer. They stood there in a kitchen filled with the smell of coffee and morning light, as if time itself had stopped just to hold on to that moment. When Henry woke up, the house was full of laughter. He ran around the yard, clutching the toast his mom had made, giggling nonstop. Sparrows chirped above wind, brushed through the beetle trees, and sunlight danced across the damp earth. Breakfast was simple, but full of love. A plate of fried eggs, slices of bread, and fruit cut into little star shapes for Henry. Alex ate while watching them, his eyes soft, the kind of peace only someone who's lost before can truly treasure. I have to go, Alex said quietly, a hint of hesitation in his voice. I've got a meeting this afternoon. You and Henry stay safe at home, okay? Tuna nodded, forcing a smile to hide the twinge in her chest. Drive safely. I'll make your favorite braised fish tonight. Alex smiled, slipped on his jacket, and kissed her forehead. It was a short kiss, but it carried 1,000 unspoken words. He stepped out into the yard. The morning breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. Tuna held Henry in her arms, watching him go. Daddy, I love you. Henry shouted, his little voice echoing into the misty air. Alex turned back, waved smiling. The sunlight hit his face, warm, bright, alive. The car engine started, faded, and disappeared down the village road. Tuna stood there, her dress swaying gently in the wind. Henry leaned against her chest and asked softly, Mom, will Daddy come home soon? Tuna brushed his hair and smiled. He will, sweetheart. When the sun sets behind the mountains. He's working hard so we can have good things. Henry nodded, then ran into the garden to pick a few small daisies. Tuna watched him, her heart filling with a quiet, almost sacred peace, as if she were living inside the dream she had wished for all these years. She turned back toward the house, the faint smell of breakfast still in the air, the sound of laughter still lingering in the corners. The breeze carried traces of the man who had just left, and in that moment she closed her eyes and whispered a prayer. Thank you, Alex, for coming, for staying, and for turning this place into a home. Outside sunlight spread across the distant fields. The birds kept singing. The wind stayed gentle. A new day began, simple, quiet, and full of hope. The road from the farm to the highway stretched out under a soft morning sun. Alex's car rolled slowly forward, its tires tracing faint dusty lines along the road. Through the window, fields came into view and slipped away again, golden, peaceful, like fading memories in motion. Inside the car, a gentle tune played, the same song Tuna always listened to while baking in the mornings. The melody made his heart sink a little. Every note, every scent that still clung to his clothes made him feel as if she were right there beside him, her head resting lightly on his shoulder, smiling in the early light. He thought back to the moment he hugged her from behind in the kitchen, her hair smelling faintly of flour, her skin warm against the soft hum of the stove and the sound of birds outside. That hug had been brief, but it was a promise. A promise that no matter how noisy the world got, he would always find his way back. The wind over the fields grew stronger. Clouds started to gather over the mountains. Alex glanced at the clock. 9 a.m. The meeting in the city was still hours away, but he didn't feel rushed. In his mind, her words from last night kept echoing. As long as you believe and I believe, we can always begin again. He gripped the steering wheel tighter, eyes steady on the mirror. I'll make it happen, nah. For you. For Henry. A breeze swept through, carrying the scent of fresh grass, the smell of freedom and hope. Back at the farm, Tuna was hanging thin blankets on a bamboo rack to dry. Henry sat on the porch, playing with the little toy car Alex had given him. Every now and then, he looked up and asked, "Mom, is Dad home yet?" Tuna smiled, brushing his hair gently. "Daddy's still far away, sweetheart, but he'll call tonight." Henry nodded and went back to his game. Tuna looked around the garden. Rows of green vegetables, clusters of bright yellow daisies. A few dry leaves spun down from the beetle trees carried by the wind. The season was slowly changing. She stepped back inside to clean up the dishes from breakfast. The faint smell of coffee still lingered in the air. She paused when she saw Alex's half-finished cup, her own lipstick faintly marking the rim. She smiled and washed it carefully, though her heart felt both full and a little empty. A cool breeze slipped through the open window. The sky darkened. Heavy clouds rolled in from the hills. Tuna glanced outside. The wind tossed the leaves. Flower pots clinked softly against each other. "Henry, come inside, it's about to rain." The boy ran in, clutching his toy car, grinning. "But rain is fun, Mom." Tuna laughed, pulling him close. "Yes, it is, as long as we have someone beside us." At that same moment, far away on a mountain road, the first raindrops began to hit Alex's windshield. Each drop spread across the glass, then slid away with the wind. He turned on the wipers and looked through the blur of rain, watching farmers in raincoats working the fields, their clothes flapping wildly. Tuna's words from last night echoed again in his head. Life doesn't have to be perfect. We just can't give up. Alex smiled quietly, his eyes filled with resolve. He tightened his grip on the wheel, holding on to the future he was determined to build. Ahead, the last beams of sunlight broke through the clouds, casting golden streaks across the rain-soaked road, uneven but beautiful. By late afternoon, the rain had stopped. The damp earth rose with warmth and the scent of memory. At the farm, Tuna and Henry sat by the window, listening to the faint patter of raindrops on the porch roof. Henry lay with his head on her lap, clutching his toy eyes half closed. Tuna brushed his hair gently, her heart calm and still. Outside, the sun peeked through the gray clouds, casting a soft orange glow over the garden. Raindrops on the beetle leaves shimmered like tiny gems. The storm had passed, but the warmth in her chest remained. She picked up her phone and read Alex's message. "Just arrived. Don't worry, I miss you and Henry so much." She smiled, slow tender. Crickets sang outside, and softly she whispered not to send just to herself, "I miss you too, Alex. Stay strong, because this place will always be waiting for you to come home." Night fell again. The yellow lights in the little kitchen glowed softly. The smell of braised fish, freshly cooked rice, and smoke filled the cool evening air. On the table were only 2 bowls, one for Tuna, one for Henry. But in the corner, a third pair of chopsticks and an empty bowl sat waiting, as if the missing person had only stepped out for a moment and would return any second. Tuna sat by the window, staring into the dark, listening to the faint drizzle start again. She didn't know why, but her heart felt at peace. Maybe because she finally understood. Sometimes peace isn't about where you are. It's about knowing that someone somewhere is trying their best to find their way back to you.
Tiếp thêm sức mạnh cho thú vị. Chúc các bạn những phút giây thật là mát trong cơn gió nhẹ khẽ luồn qua mái hiên lay động mấy tán lá ngoài sân. Tôi ngồi đó một mình trên chiếc ghế nằm nhìn vào trời trước mắt.